Hello and welcome back to my channel. It's me, your girl Nikki, your makeup mayhem goddess at its best. So, I got a question about how do I prep my eyelids for eyeshadow. So, the same thing that I do with my skin is the same thing that I do with my eyelids. So, I got a nice bowl of water in front of me. So, I'm going to dampen my skin with just some regular old water and then get it really nice and saturated. Want to make sure that skin is wet so we can exfoliate all the dead skin off and make sure you do not forget your neck, girl. Make sure you exfoliate that neck as well. Then we're gonna go use some Vino clear complexion pads, and one side is really soft, and then the other side's got the beads on it, so you can exfoliate. This is a gentle exfoliation, so I really go in on this part. You only go as hard as you need to where it doesn't hurt. So I make sure I get the corners of my mouth, the sides of my face, down below the chin, my eyebrows, and I gently do my eyelids. Now, if you have dry eyelids, exfoliating your eyelids would be really great because you can get the dead skin off. And then you also want to make sure that you're getting that neck area and chin area. Exfoliating your skin is good overall. And the pad's got a salicylic acid in it, so that'll help keep away pimples as well. So now I'm just washing my face as usual. Of course, clearly you'll be doing this over a sink, but since I was recording, I just had a bowl. So after you get done rinsing all that off, you're going to take a damp cloth, not a dry one, a nice damp cloth, and then you are going to pat your skin dry and make sure everything is out of your face. Out of your face. I had soap in my nose, so I had to get that out. Now, I want to show you everything that came off of my face. That is the scrub pad. That's the exfoliating part, and the smooth part also has stuff on it. And this is why you need to exfoliate your skin. Now, this is completely optional. I have this lotion, P50V or 50V, whatever. It's supposed to be good for hyperpigmentation, which I'm still battling with and trying to get rid of. It's supposed to lighten everything up, and it's also good for like fine lines and wrinkles and stuff, but I use it for hyperpigmentation. So you're gonna just take a little bit and put it on to a nice face pad, preferably one that doesn't leave any cotton pieces on your face. Like, I have a piece of cotton right there on my lip, a lint from my on my lip from the towel. So you'll see me get that off later. So just in case you're wondering what that is, that's what that is. So you're gonna take that and dab it on your face. Now let me tell you, that stuff is not cheap. It's quite expensive. It's like $180 some a bottle, but it does work. It has lightened up my hyperpigmentation quite a bit, but of course the camera and the light makes it worse than what it is. But it's actually doing, my skin's doing pretty well with this, and I think it has also smoothed out my skin tremendously. So you just want to make sure you get all that done. Now, after you do your neck and your face, don't put that stuff on your eyelids. Your eyelids will burn. You're gonna come back with your favorite moisturizer after it dries, and that's what I'm doing. Is fanning it off. It will sting and burn and all this other stuff. I'm using CeraVe because it is supposedly quote unquote dermatologist approved and stuff for people who have eczema, sensitive skin, really dry skin, and whatever moisturizer I put on my face, I put on my eyelids as well. I do not have dry eyelids, but I don't have oily eyelids either. So you would want to determine all this stuff before you start doing everything for your skin, because whatever going on in your skin is probably going on with your eyelid area. So I'm also going to take this Clarins and I'm going to put that on my lips. So when I do apply my lipstick, my matte lipstick or whatever, I don't got no dry, cracked lips that look like they have committed very many sins. And we don't want the sins to show through. Now, this is one of my favorite companies to get face masks from. It's SoAE or SoA, and I've tried a lot of their face masks. This is the double collagen one, which really just seals all that moisture in for me. And I leave that on until basically it's damn near dry. But I do have to tear the lid part, the eye part open a little bit because they don't fit. So that's what I was doing. So I apply that on my skin and my dimension. My face mask comes right out the refrigerator and right on my face. So that face mask is super cold. It should bring down any inflammation in the skin, close all those pores up so you don't have any open pores. And that's why I put my face mask in the refrigerator. And make sure you don't forget to, do your neck as well, because we want to keep that nice and tight looking as well. Now, this is actually Bella Pierre. I changed the lid because I broke it a long time ago. So this is if you are going to be applying eyeshadow. I've had a video a long time ago about which eye primer to use. But if you have oily eyelids, this Bella Pierre it dries down dry. So we're just gonna get into it. So okay, so that was Bella Pierre. Makeup Revolution is one of my other favorite eye primers to use. I have a white one, couldn't find it, but this one it's also very wet, almost like a concealer. So determine what type of eye primer you need for your eyelids. And of course, my favorite is the P. Louise makeup base eye primer base, because I do believe it is like Bella Pierre in a jar, but just in a tube, but just in liquid form. And so those are my three top primers for my eyelids. Now, if you have dry, well, let's say if you have oily eyelids, you want to pick you up some of this. You want some Laura Mercier powder or some Kat Von D translucent powder. My lid's beat up, girl. And the reason why you want to gonna do that is because if you have oily eyelids, you can put that on top. Now, the Laura Mercier was for if I don't want to put any eyeshadow on, I just want to put the shadow right on, or not the shadow, but the translucent powder right on top so it blends in with my skin tone, so I don't get the what is it called, the lines in my eyeballs where you can see where I put concealer or foundation and they're separating because my eyelids are getting a little bit oily. That powder will stop all of that. You won't have any creasing. So here I'm just demonstrating that I'm taking the Bella Pierre and I'm applying that with a brush all over the lid, and you will want to blend that out as best as you can with your finger or either a sponge. So once you got that done, it should be dry and look like that. Now, I'm simulating that if I have an oily eyelid. So I put Vaseline on my eyelid to simulate an oily eyelid. Now, as you can tell, same makeup base. It's the Bella Pierre. It kind of just goes on patchy and dry and all and just weird. It's just weird. All in a whole. It's just weird. So what I want you to do, if you have oily eyelids, I'm gonna get my Vaseline, pretend like I have oily eyelids, because I don't have oily eyelids. So I'm putting my Vaseline on here, and If you have oily eyelids, don't put Vaseline on there. But this is just to simulate if you have oily eyelids. So let's pretend my eyeball is oily. I want you to take you a microfiber towel, and I want you to pat your eye and gently wipe to get the oil off your eyelid. Once you have done that, you are going to take a blotting towel or some type of makeup blotting that gets all the oil out. That's not a blotting towel that I have because I don't have oily skin. I have dry skin. But we're going to pretend like that's a blotting towel. And then you're going to take all the oil off of that eyelid till it's dry to the touch. Then you're going to go in with your makeup base. As you see here, I'm going in with the same Bella Pierre makeup base, applying that all over the lid and blending it out with a finger or sponge. Now, with oily eyelids, you can't really stop it in a hole from getting oily because that's just your genetic makeup. But you can decrease some of that oil in there. Now, I wanted to show you that here it's a little tacky, but therefore it is dry. And I know that, Vaseline is different from oil on your eyelids, but I'm trying my best, girl, okay? Now, if you're going to be applying eyeshadow, you are going to do the makeup base and a translucent powder. And as you can tell, it is completely dry to the touch. Now, we are going to simulate the same thing, but without it. So if you have dry eyelids, this is how you're going to be doing it. And it's going to work out pretty good for you. Trust me. So this is my concealer, Kat Von D, the person everybody loves to hate. I apply that all over the lid. I blend it out with a sponge. And I do this period because you will get the creasing in your eyelid. And then I'm going to take my Laura Mercier powder, and then I'm going to push that powder into my skin. I'm not going to sweep. I'm not going to get a brush and dust. I'm going to get a sponge, and I am going to gently push that powder into that concealer or foundation. And I only do this if I'm not going to be wearing any eyeshadow. So it's just going to be like, like a natural makeup look, maybe with just some eyeliner. And that's how you stop the creasing from happening if you're not applying any eyeshadow whatsoever. Now you see how smooth and blurred out that looks? That's what you want. Now I'm going to be doing the same thing. This time it's just going to be with my P. Louise. And the thing with P. Louise is that her makeup base dries down, but not completely. It's still a little tacky. So you want to keep tapping that in to the skin, onto your eyelid, until you feel it slightly tacky. And then you're going to blend out the edges with either your finger or a makeup sponge. Now I'm going to take a eyeshadow from the matte book so you can see what it looks like. Now I'm taking this random purple, and I want you to see what happens when you don't put any translucent powder on there, and that pigmentation is absolutely wonderful. So the pigmentation sticks a whole lot better other than when you use a translucent powder. But sometimes you don't have a choice if you have oily eyelids. So I'm showing you here that without the translucent powder, you can still blend it out. But if you have oily eyelids, it will crease on you. So now we're going to do it again. Same makeup base, and we're going to tap that all over the lid. And this time we're going to pretend like we have oily eyelids, right? So that means that I have already blotted everything, got all the oil out my eyelids, and we're going to apply all the makeup base, whatever your makeup base is, all over the lid and blend out the edges. Then we're going to take the sponge and blend out the edges, because if you don't blend out the edges, you're going to see it. Trust me. Now we're going to take that translucent powder and apply that right on top. This is if you have oily eyelids and you want to apply some really big, vibrant colors. So I'm going to go into that same purple from the matte book, and I'm going to apply that to the lid, and you're going to see the pigmentation difference in this method than when I just go straight in with a tacky base. So as you can tell, right away, I have to pick up more. Now, it's not going to affect any of your makeup looks except for when you use the translucent powder to make sure that your eyelids are not oily. It will take some building up and, more pigment to put on the lid, but you can get what you want. And it still blends out pretty well. Sometimes I use a translucent powder just to blend, because some stuff that I have, some of the eyeshadow bases just don't want anything to move. It's there. So sometimes I'll go in with a little bit of powder on my brush to help blend out those edges. Now I'm going to pick up another color, which is this green color here, just to show you that even though you do have the translucent powder on there, you can still build up and blend different colors together. It just will take some building up. So I'm going to put the green in the blanky pieces and then take it up to that purple, which looks pink on camera, but it was purple. And you see, it will blend, girl. It will blend. Now, as I mentioned, I was not trying to do a whole eyeshadow look, so no, it does not look pretty. So before somebody comes at me in the comments, this was just for demonstration purposes only, just to show you how it works. Now I'm going back in with that same makeup base, the Bella Pierre one, and I'm going to show you what it looks like without the translucent powder, so you have a good comparison of with it and without it. So if you have dry eyelids, make sure you just moisturize the night before. And if you have oily eyelids, just make sure you take all the oil out of your eyelids before applying a makeup base. But considering I have dry eyelids, but they're not dry where, I have dead skin on the eyelid, then I'm able to go in straight with a base and be just fine. Now, as you can tell, with straight up the base, it goes on pretty good. That color grabs onto it, and that's why I like Bella Pierre so much. But sometimes she gives me a little bit of hard time of wanting to blend out the edges, but it's doable. You could do it. You just gotta work with her. And then I'm going to go in with one of those greens from the matte book that I just used the matte book all throughout the video. And put that on there, and then you will see that will blend in to the purple that I put on the eyelid as well. If you have any questions about what I did, or if you need me to explain further, just feel free to leave that down below. As I said before, I do not go in with so far as my face with the makeup primer because it just slides all over my face. But I do have a few that I like, which I will leave down below. But after I do all my skincare, I go straight in with my foundation, and this is what I do to prep my skin and my eyelids for makeup application.